Throughout the day, there are people in Charcha t-shirts. They will be there to assist you. And there is a QR code in the back of your printed agenda. And so if you can keep giving the feedbacks, one person can give more than one feedback. So if you have a specific feedback about a particular session, you can still give it. And if you have any questions for the panel, there will be a QR code that we will be displaying through the panel. This is the QR code, and the questions will be taken through that and then the moderator will accommodate the questions as per the time that will be there. And we also have a very rich performance lined up for the evening today at 7 p.m. by the Rajasthani folk and Sufi maestro Kutle Khan and his band. So join us and you can continue your charcha as we are there. So coming back to the session for now, we are focusing on a very crucial topic, unleashing potential, empowering all abilities in livelihood. This panel is dedicated to exploring how we can create inclusive opportunities for people of all disabilities and abilities and celebrate the magic of abilities. I'm borrowing this term from Eti Cafe and ensuring that everyone has a chance to thrive. And we are especially delighted to have State Street as a co-host for the year. And we have an incredible lineup of panelists who are the true champions in the field of empowerment and inclusion. So join me in welcoming Rajesh Aggarwal ji, Secretary of the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, who's instrumental in shaping national policies to support people with disabilities. Requesting you, sir, to deliver the keynote address and setting the context for the panel discussion.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I don't have a prepared speech. I usually stand up before a gathering and then try to gather my thoughts. So now I have been secretary in this department for about 2 years. Before this, I was Secretary of Skills and Entrepreneurship Ministry. And before that, I had done a stint as DGT training in Skill Ministry, where I was handling ITIs and entrepreneurship. So I will touch 3-4 topics in this small keynote. So one is, what kind of jobs are available in the country? The formal jobs, or many even formal jobs in the MSMEs. They're not formal in the sense that you are not really on the rolls, but you are getting some pay. So in these kind of jobs, if we analyze the data of last few years, it's actually a pyramid. The jobs at the so-called lower end, which are like menial jobs, which you do with your hand. So the plumbers, the carpenters, the gardening guy, and all that stuff. So in our own daily life also, a lot of work we require is of that kind. So those jobs are high in number. Many of them are. So one is that kind of jobs. Then obviously there are retail jobs. That number is quite high compared to others. And then there are jobs at higher levels. But it's a pyramid. And unfortunately, our education system is pushing everyone into higher education. And if you have seen recent data, the unemployability is highest amongst PhDs, percentage-wise, then amongst graduates, then 12th pass, then 10th pass, and then less than 10th pass. तो मतलब ये है कि जो 10th तक ही पढ़ता है वो कुछ ना कुछ काम कर लेता है. उसके बाद ग्रेजुएट बन गए, एस्पिरेशंस बहुत बढ़ जाती हैं, नौकरियां नहीं हैं, तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है. मे बी दैट्स a lesson in public policy that so which many Western nations have, that higher education is actually the fees are high. In our country they are not. So it's easy to do a graduation at a reasonable cost. So one is that pyramid, and we must understand that pyramid. Then a majority of jobs are informal sector jobs, and then lot of these jobs are now self-employment. Even in the manual jobs, the plumbers, carpenters, beauty parlor, and so on, lot of jobs are self-employed. कि आपने कुछ सीख लिया, 3 महीने, 6 महीने, 1 साल, 2 साल, and then you are on your own. And this is a growing market. And now there are aggregators like Urban Clap and so many others. So they help these self-employed people get something. Then very interesting data after COVID is 70-80% jobs which were in those 2 years of COVID were actually delivery jobs. So we have delivery boys and girls across the country, mostly boys, a few girls. So those jobs are in lakhs and they are still increasing. And then obviously there's an entrepreneurship angle, so which is there in self-employed also. But when you grow slightly big, you hire 1-2 more persons and then 10 persons, then 100 persons. So then we have that startup system and all that. But again, the actual number of jobs are in the so-called lower segment. And there, we call it lower because that is our attitude. And pay-wise, now we see software companies, I won't take names, there are many. Majority of big software companies actually hire 80% of the people at 3 lakh per annum. And the AC technician which comes to my home, he earns at least 1 lakh rupees per month. But in our social attitude, he is at a lower strata than a software engineer earning 25,000 rupees a month. So that is a market reality. Then second, there was a global survey before COVID which said, what do potential employers look at in employees? The answer was confidence. It did not mention skills or domain skills or anything. That's all that matters. And after COVID, the same group did a global survey, and the answer was confidence also, but it was also that ability to adapt to new situations very quickly. So in India also now, basically people are not going to stick to one job or one career also. Maybe the youth who are coming out of colleges now, they might do 10 to 15 jobs in their lifetime. They might switch their career fully 3 to 4 times. So that's what many surveys suggest. So that's why the ability to switch careers, to learn to adapt to new situations, that comes in handy. And then in the government sector, we have a lot of things basically trying to address this. One important thing which is not really talked about is RPL, recognition of prior learning. In Delhi, if you have a, let us say, Maruti car or Hyundai, or even you have a Mercedes, you want its repair and maintenance, you can go to a proper workshop and maybe pay 20,000 rupees. Or you can go to Sarojini Nagar footpath and maybe pay 5,000 rupees and maybe get a better service. But those technicians on Sarojini Nagar, and you can go now and you will see a line of Audis and Mercedes being serviced. So they are very competent, but they don't have formal degrees. So this still sort of, in our whole education system, even in our own government schemes, this has not really found its rightful place. That how do we really certify these people and say कि यार ये बहुत अच्छे हैं? Some private companies, like I went to Hero Honda, now it's Hero Group, Manesar, and they told me about 2 years back that from Delhi to Jaipur, जितने पंचर वाले थे, उनको उन्होंने 2-3 दिन ट्रेन किया, उनको अच्छा इक्विपमेंट दिया और बाहर बोर्ड लगा दिया कि ट्रेन टेक्नीशियन बाय हीरो ग्रुप, एंड देयर बिजनेस इंक्रीज्ड. एंड दे सेड आप हीरो के मोटरसाइकिल पे दिल्ली से जयपुर जाओगे, वापस आओगे, आपको रास्ते में 50-60 ऐसे मिलेंगे जहाँ पे ये बोर्ड मिलेगा, एंड यू विल बी कॉन्फिडेंट कि यार इससे करवाऊँगा तो ही इज़ ए बेटर टेक्नीशियन. सो that is a missing segment. Then on the loan side, the Mudra and Shishu loans and our own NDFDC, again, there are a lot of gaps. There are a lot of actual gaps in implementation. But small loans to people can really help them. A few years back, I remember I was in Garchroli. So So I'm a Punjabi, so I'm a foodie, so I stopped at a joint where two roads meet, मराठी में फाटा बोलते हैं, तो फाटे पे छोटा सा ढाबा था, तो उससे मैंने गपशप चालू किया भी क्या करते हो, एंड उसने छोटा सा मुद्रा लोन का एक लगा रखा था वहाँ पे, दैट्स वाई आई स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग टू हिम. ही सेड कि मैं पहले 6 महीने पहले तक आई वाज अलोन, एक कढ़ाई में मैं तल के अपना सुबह अपना खिलाता था लोगों को और एक बेंच था बाहर. ही सेड मुझे 10,000 का लोन मिला ना, अब 3 कढ़ाई हैं, मैंने 3 वर्कर्स और रख लिए हैं, 4 बेंच खरीद लिए हैं, तो मेरा धंधा उस हिसाब से बढ़ गया है. सो दिस सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट गाई एक्चुअली बिकेम ए जॉब गिवर with a small loan of 10,000 rupees. So if we choose the right people, if we help them in the right fashion, it can change lives. I can see many philanthropists in this room. Many of them are with corporate sector, many are on their own. And I see a few startups also. And I see a few who are actually training persons with disability to get better jobs or better loans or become startup guys. So choosing right people and giving them the right help, that's extremely important. In the disability sector, I talk of two things. One is equal opportunities and reasonable accommodations. And that we are seeing now all across, that if children with disabilities, children with special needs, they are given good education, preferably in inclusive schools. Special schools are needed for certain kids with severe disabilities, but otherwise it's a ghettoization. Kids must get into inclusive schools. And luckily the data shows that 22 lakh kids with special needs, they are in inclusive schools. About 2 lakh are in special schools. And I don't know the numbers, maybe 1 lakh, maybe 5 lakh, maybe 10 lakhs, they are getting homeschooled. We frankly have no data on this. On the disability, we have gross data कि एज पर सेंसस अभी 3.5 करोड़ लोग होने चाहिए, UDID कार्ड 1.25 करोड़ लोगों के पास हैं, WHO के फिगर्स के हिसाब से में भी 10 करोड़ लोग डिसेबल्ड होंगे देश में. सो द एक्चुअल नंबर इज समवेयर इन बिटवीन. So we can do the demographic proportionately, and so number of children with special needs might be around 40-50 lakhs in the country. We have data of about 25 lakhs in the country. So good education, and then coupled with equal opportunities. And I always tell corporate sector, देखिए 4% सरकारी नौकरी में तो कोटा है, वो ठीक है, but real jobs are in the private sector. So I always nudge private sector कि आप मौका दीजिए, take a leap of faith, reasonable accommodation दीजिए, unreasonable भी नहीं. कोई व्हील चेयर पे है, आपको टेबल की हाइट ऊपर नीचे करनी है, रैंप करना है, कैंटीन को, बाथरूम को व्हील चेयर फ्रेंडली बनाना है. कोई विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड है, उसको आपने कोई सॉफ्टवेयर देना है, NVIDIA या जॉ सॉफ्टवेयर देना है, काम भी उस तरह का दीजिए कि वो कर सके. बट देन आई ऑलवेज से कि यार काम नहीं करता बंदा तो निकाल दो, क्योंकि एनी प्राइवेट कंपनी विल टेक ए फ्यू यूथ विद डिसेबिलिटी टू ट्राई इट आउट. अगर आउटपुट नहीं मिली तो वो और नहीं रखेगा, बाकी अपने 5 दोस्तों को भी बताएगा कि यार ये गलती हो गई, हमने रख लिया. सो आई ऑलवेज टेल यूथ विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ हु आर गेटिंग इनटू जॉब्स कि भाई आपको अब डबल मेहनत करके काम करना है. अगर आप नहीं करोगे तो आगे दूसरों को मौका नहीं मिलेगा, बट अपने राइट्स के लिए, रीजनेबल अकोमोडेशन के लिए फाइट करिए, वो तो मिलना ही चाहिए. एंड वाई डू आई से दिस? बिकॉज आई एम कॉन्फिडेंट कि जो यूथ विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ हैं जिनको मौका मिलता है, दे आर बेटर वर्कर्स, दे आर क्वाइट ऑनेस्ट इन देयर वर्किंग. एट्रीशन रेट इज़ एक्चुअली वेरी लो. एट्रीशन रेट इन फर्स्ट मंथ इज़ हाई. कई बार होता है घर से 5 किलोमीटर दूर भी नौकरी मिली तो दैट 5 किलोमीटर कैन बी हेल्ड टू गो बिकॉज अवर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज़ नॉट एक्सेसिबल. बट अगर वो 1 महीना टिक गए तो टिके रहेंगे. एंड अनदर डेटा पॉइंट इज़ कि सो कॉल्ड नॉर्मल आदमी के 150 फ्रेंड्स होते हैं गॉसिप के लिए सोशल मीडिया पे दिन भर. ए पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी के 15 फ्रेंड्स होते हैं जिससे वो गप मारता है. So, and I have talked to Amazon, I have talked to many other companies, and they say कि productivity levels are good. So that's my request to the private sector कि आप मौका दीजिए, reasonable accommodation दीजिए, and then you will find them productive and good workers. I think I should stop here. because panel discussion bhi hai. But I thought I will just do a bit of context setting by way of numbers and by way of general job situation in the country. So I will stop here. Thank you so much and best wishes for the event. Should I go down?
Thank you, sir, for setting the context. I think it's going to be a good discussion as the panel starts. Now, join me in welcoming the panel. We have with us Alina Allen, founder of Meti Cafe, promoting the abilities of persons with disabilities, and we have the Meti Cafe team also here. She's a TEDx speaker and Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia honoree, recognized with awards such as Niti Aayog Women Transforming India Awards. We have with us Sunil ji, CEO of Uni Products India Limited. He comes with nearing 4 decades of experience in leadership role. He's also an advisor for NGOs, specifically focusing on disability inclusion. We also have Dr. Meenu, VP and Senior Grants Manager, APAC Region, State Street Corporation. Meenu drives CSR and diversity initiatives at State Street, with a background in learning disability inclusion program and holding a PhD as well. Welcome, ma'am. And this panel would be moderated by Mallikarjun Iytha, founder of IDEA, an organization which supports livelihood for people with disabilities. With extensive experience in development and fair trade, he is known for his impactful work in empowering marginalized communities. Over to you, Mallikarjun, for taking the panel forward.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, Charcha has become inclusive. So for the past few years, we were very keen that Charcha should be inclusive and these topics should be discussed. First of all, I would like to thank the visionary team of Nudge, headed by Atul, Subhashriji, Gayatri, in fact, Zerold and Manoj. See, what it means is, next year onwards, we'll be on a main stage where accessibility is not an issue. So while Charcha and Nudge and all of us have become inclusive, I think, as yesterday Arman also said, Habitat Center is not yet inclusive and accessible. So we all need to do that before we leave today. I'll request all of you to leave in the remark book to make Habitat Center an accessible one, so that this is where all the people will come in and all our voice will definitely make the change. So the first takeaway for all of us could be this. Second thing is, we just heard Honorable Secretary Rajesh Aggarwal ji, a simple person with a dynamic vision who actually changed. Suddenly, social justice and disability sector seems to be like very lucrative even for bureaucrats. A dull, a place where nobody would like to get into. What Rajesh Aggarwal ji has done to this community is, we always say that is something exceptional, being an IITian, being a techie, understanding the data, understanding the pain point, the way that he created an ecosystem within last 1.5 years. The most of the things under his leadership and under the ministry which has happened in the last few years, most of us know. So we are in safe hands, and I think more to come from his wisdom, and the sector will definitely benefit out of it. Thirdly, I see a lot of change makers in the room. I am very happy, starting from Arman Ali. I could see Basavaraj ji, who created a network of disabled in Karnataka where everybody takes inspiration from. I see our friends creating solutions, assistive tech solutions, Hani and Siddharth here, and I see several other people, even our friends from Bajaj Finserv, Kushji, who are supporting. So I could see an ecosystem coming out. And the title of this Charcha this year is Vikasit Bharat, through inclusion. So I think inclusion is inevitable. inclusion is profitable, inclusion is sustainable. It's a proven fact now. Now, only thing is we need to get into inclusion. Like yesterday also, it was discussed during main keynote, says all other categories were discussed, there was only a passing reference of persons with disability. But we feel from the sector, the gateway to Vikasit Bharat comes through inclusion. So, अगर सही में भारत को विकसित करनी है, तो उसका शुरुआत, उसका द्वार तो इंक्लूजन के माध्यम से ही होगा. तो it is better now to discuss about it. I'll just give a context of this round table. So, चर्चा का उद्देश्य होता है कि मुद्दा उठाए, उछाले ना, मुद्दा के ऊपर संवाद हो, मुद्दा के ऊपर पार्टनरशिप्स हो, पार्टनरशिप के माध्यम से कुछ स्केलेबल मॉडल, सस्टेनेबल मॉडल्स हम सामने लेके आ जाए. समाज, सरकार और बाजार, इसको तो हम मान चुके हैं. समाज स्केल अप ड्राइवर के नाते क्या कर रहे हैं, बहुत सारा कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स राजेश जी ने कहा है. बट दिस सेशन बाजार का एंगल से हम दिव्यांगजन को कब देखेंगे. सो 15% of world's population of persons with disabilities, 5 to 7% in India. मतलब 7 से 10 करोड़ दिव्यांगजन, और हम कह रहे हैं कि 2047 तक 30 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी में हम जाएंगे जरूर, अगर if all these people get into economic activities. If a business case is created, then only this is possible. So this session is basically to discuss and deliberate and see some of the models which exist, and also see that how these models can be scalable and how all of us can work together. So because we have the advantage of having secretaries here, I'm just flipping the first round of questions to all of you. Now government is encouraging lateral entry into joint secretary, I'm sure not at the secretary level. Suddenly if government takes a decision that lateral entry can happen at the secretary level, and all the 3 candidates on the panel today are considered for an interview, and they were asked a question, what if you were selected as a secretary of DEPWD MSJE, what are the 2 things that you think you will do it immediately? So my question to panelists, I'll start with Sunil ji. सुनील जी, अगर आप सेक्रेटरी बनाए जाते हैं, मैं इसलिए भी पूछ रहा हूँ, थोड़ा सा स्वार्थ है, जो भी इनपुट्स जाएंगे, आई एम श्योर द स्पीड एट विच राजेश अग्रवाल जी वर्क्स, वी कुड सी लाइट ऑफ द डे एंड सम ग्रेट थिंग्स कमिंग आउट. तो दिल खोल के पूछिए सेक्टर को क्या चाहिए और हमें क्या चाहिए, एंड देयर इज ए होप जस्ट नेक्स्ट टू यू. सुनील जी.
Good morning, everybody. The question has been framed in a very interesting way, Mallika. But I hear it like, what are our key proposals to secretary? This is what I hear as. So, as a business community, I come from business community. I have been, I am ex-IIT Roorkee and I am Ahmedabad alumnus and worked in automotive industry for last four decades. I am associated with disability for last 25 years as volunteer, you can say, and understand it to great extent as an interface of business. So business has a lot to gain from this, which we can discuss during the course of, because it's a big potential. Today, going by different numbers, just now Secretary Saab mentioned and then Mallika mentioned, going by all the international studies, we have disability population of over 10 or 11 crores in India, and those who practice in this field know that this is true to great extent. And there are only 15 countries in the world who have population above 10 crores. So we are a nation. This disability sector is not small. It's a very, very big talent pool. It's a very big resource for the country. Just can't be ignored. And business can't sustain without it. Viksit Bharat dream cannot, cannot be fully achieved without this. So how to integrate it? And I have a few suggestions, but I would say mostly it is around RPWD Act implementation. And there is nothing new that I can add here. So sir, my main, since Mallika told me to mention 2 points, I would say the first and foremost point is around accessibility. All around country, we need accessibility in true spirit. it is not about putting a ramp in the building. It is about much more than that. It is, it has to be made, as I said, as you have, sir, mentioned in the section 40 of RPWD Act, I think that taken in true spirit and mandated for the approval of buildings, for public places, transport, and all the spaces, that will make this you can say the 10 crore population be integrated. Otherwise, we are just, not able to integrate it. And that's a very big loss. So finally, it is also a very big pool of consumers. This 10 crore is not somebody who is looking for help. They can help. I can tell you truly because I have practiced it, and in business I have integrated it and very successfully, which I will explain later. But accessibility all across is one request, and the foremost request I would say in terms of execution to Secretary Saab. And the second is around education, training and skilling. Because government is backbone for business in terms of policy making, in terms of facilitating, regulating so many things. And the most important thing we need with disability sector is the right kind of skilling, education and training. Today, National Skill Development Corporation also has one section which honestly is not really the main focus for them. It's a sideline section. I have been trying to engage with them as well, so I know, and you, sir, know, I think everything. So we need courses to be tailored, we need training to be imparted through all the institutions, private institutions, industry, skill development councils across states. So it has to be really a mission to impart correct vocational training across all the 21 types of disabilities, and within each disability there is a wide spectrum. Using tools, using technology, government needs to focus on, sir is from very high technology background, from artificial intelligence way back since 1986. So putting a technology fund within the national fund to create tools which are more focused for the intellectually disabled, because that is the area which needs R&D and development of assistive tools. For some of the sectors we have tools, but because those have become standard, but still a large sector, you can say, which is intellectually disabled or learning disability, needs a lot of tools, and this gap of disability and ability can be bridged in a major way, and they can be deployed fruitfully as fruitful member of the society. So I would say, sir, these are the two submissions. There are, of course, so many things in RPWD Act which still need execution, and I have heard from you, it is not, you are doing a stupendous task of executing it, and there are so many nuances in it. I do appreciate that, sir, and with that, over to you, Mallika.
सुनील सर ने ऑलरेडी बोल दिया कि RPWD एक्ट का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, आई थिंक एवरी पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी वुड वांट that this act is respected. People are scared of violating it, and there are mandates, penalties around it if it is violated. I have been leading CSR for quite a few decades now, and I see the change. I have seen the era before 2% mandate came and the 2014. There is reputational risk, there is penalty, the business controller is responsible. So it is implemented to the T by every company or majority of the companies, because you are scared that you will be non-compliant. But if RPWD Act is being violated, buildings continue to be designed without inclusion of people with disabilities. Where are the penalties? How are we penalizing them? I think we have gone beyond that stage of awareness. कब तक awareness हम करते रहेंगे? और awareness करते रहने के बावजूद भी अगर हम देखें इंडिया हैबिटेट सेंटर में कितने इवेंट्स हुए हैं, होते रहते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी I mean, organizers have not insisted to IHC कि हमारे यहाँ पे इतने disabled लोग आएंगे, आपको रैंप बनाने हैं, आपको स्टेज इतना ऊंचा नहीं बनाना, आपको इधर भी रैंप लगाना है. Everywhere there are challenges. And now we can't give the excuse that we are not aware, because we are aware. And I think second point from my side would be representation. I still feel people with disabilities are not represented in decision making, in leadership, and that is why these goof ups continue to happen, because a lot of them are professionals, do-gooders, which we need. I'm not criticizing them because they are all allies and they are working for a common cause. But don't take me wrong, but we don't see people with disabilities in the decision making or in the leadership anywhere, whether in government, whether in corporate sector. And I mean, I feel disheartened to say that even in the social impact space, disability NGOs continue to remain very exclusive, and they operate in their own little world. And somebody, I mean, skilling, we talk of skilling, but skilling is for the low-income groups, for socially disadvantaged. Where is disability? Disability is somewhere hidden in the corner, pushed to the disability NGOs, because nobody wants to take up the challenge and include them. So I think that is where I will stop.
Alina? Any 2 points that you-
Absolutely second what Sunil ji and Meenu mentioned. I'm a mother to a 1-year-old baby. You must have seen him coming running inside. And generally when we conceive, and this was also a perception in my family, that the problem is then you feel that you want a healthy child. Right? What does a healthy child mean? When you conceive, you want a healthy child. A healthy child implies a person without a disability, a child without a disability. I've been brought up by my grandmother, who had a disability since I was 2 years old. And one simple thing that I've understood over the years of being brought up by her is that the problem is not that there are X number of people with disabilities in the world. There are 1 billion people with disabilities across the world, 7 crore plus people with disabilities in India. The problem is the larger statistics, which is the disability in our perceptions that stops us from seeing the magic in their abilities. And I'd absolutely second what Meenu said, but along with that, I think Mitti as a model, what is it to start a Mitti Cafe? It's a simple thing. You just start it, you cut the ribbon, but the actual game starts after that, of whether it's going to be a success or a failure, no matter how many policies happen. I've always believed that for it to be sustainable, it has to be bottom-up, community-driven, where it is not just in papers, but in our hearts. So while accessible infrastructure, accessible perspectives, accessible AI, and all of that, these are, non-negotiables, but these cannot happen unless people realize their power to really contribute to it. So the power of the community to really bring about a difference is something that one must not underestimate, which is something that we have shown through a Mitti Cafe, which is a very simple model. But the replication of it beyond the Mitti only happens when the community knows that compassion and courage are 2 weapons that can eradicate any problem that our world faces today. And inclusion is something that doesn't just belong to a person with a disability, but belongs to everybody. So awareness is, I still feel is a key. And of course, awareness coupled with policies, but to believe in the power of the community to collectively bring about a difference.
Thank you. That is Alina for you. So let me also do a disclosure for you. 2 of us in this panel are having lived experiences. One is a father of a special child and also an entrepreneur. Alina has nothing to do with disability, but then during her college days, she decided, I need to do something. So very inspiring she got into. And then from the policy side, Rajesh Aggarwal ji is there. Now, I again get back to, I said that let us see a business case. Is there any business case? You know, you will be amazed to see, do we really know what is the third largest market segment in US? I'm saying US because that is where our target is. In the next 25 years, we want to be number 2. That means we need to surpass US. So I'm taking data from there. So the third largest market segment in US is 57 million persons with disabilities and their market. And the market, if you see the market share, it's almost 1 billion USD. So 92.6% of the people in US, they say they prefer buying products where inclusion is there. And 83.4% people even said that if inclusion is ensured, they're even willing to invest there. So there is a business case. Similarly, in Europe, the way that corporations are working. So in this panel, what we wanted is to see the business case in different angles. A multinational corporation, a social enterprise, and maybe an Indian-based enterprise. So do they see a business case? If yes, how they are practicing it? So in US, as some of you might be knowing, there is an index that they come out called Disability Equality Index for the corporates, companies. And they'll be rated on that, and there are several things happens when they get. So this session's co-host, State Street and Meenu ji, we are very thankful for her for co-hosting this session. She is from State Street. Consistently for the last 6 years globally, they got 100 out of 100 in DEI index. I think their Indian chapter, they got somewhere 80 or something, I'm not sure. So it is very, very important and interesting to understand that how does the corporate see, getting 100 out of 100 means they have a commitment for disability, they have policies related to inclusion. So my question to you, Meenu ji, is if you can share a little bit about some of the best practices, why State Street feels that this is a way forward, and what is your commitment for future?
So some of the views that I express here are personal. So I want to have that disclaimer here. I have the lived experience of disability and have been seasoned in this space for several decades, and State Street is only 5 years old for me. But in the last 5 years, what I've realized about State Street is that they focus a lot on a data-driven approach. From the foundation perspective, if I speak, the focus has been on education and employability and improving economic opportunity and reducing equity gaps in educational achievement for and employability, and primarily in communities where we have a presence. But we have been good listeners. We have been listening to the voices in the community and responding to those. 2020 was a year in the US where Black Lives Matter happened, and State Street changed its grant-making guidelines accordingly to focus on representation in its grant giving, to focus on making sure that all our funding grants go towards BIPOC population. Now that happened for North America. However, in EMEA and APAC, people just couldn't relate to that. So what did we do? We went with a data-driven approach. We engaged with a third party, and we did a research that what does equity look like in the Asia-Pacific region and in India? How do we define that? Which is the target group that we should focus on? It was a 1-year-long study that we conducted in 8 countries, including India. And I was not surprised, but everyone else in the team was quite surprised that disability emerged as a common theme and a target group in all the 8 countries, which was disadvantaged, which was marginalized, which didn't have adequate representation. So while what we have been doing internally from the best practices perspective, policies, systems, employee resource groups, etc., but this was, as of last week, if you go to State Street Foundation website, you will see our updated guidelines for India as well, and socially disadvantaged groups, women and people with disabilities have been clearly highlighted as target groups that we are going to focus on for the next few years. And it will not be just few years, but again, we will go with data-driven approach that where have we created impact? Have we moved the needle? If not, that we need to continue to focus on this space, do innovative stuff, do impactful stuff, where we are being the catalysts for change. So that is where and I mean, this company is 250 years old. So it has survived through all the changes and challenges, and that wouldn't have been possible if we were not responsive to the changing needs of the time, and if we had not focused on the realities on the ground and listening to those voices.
Thank you, Meenuji. So, my next question is to Sunilji. Sunilji is the CEO of a company called Livelihoods Private Limited with a turnover of 400 crores or so. Please correct me if I am wrong. So, do you see any business case, Sunilji, in your enterprise and in your personal life, the type of experimentations that we are doing? So,
Mallika, good about business. I would say to business community, because I am part of that. In very clear words, the purpose of business has been always and will remain always to earn profit. I don't think there is any other second purpose a business community thinks. So I am not talking about charity. I am not talking about any help. It is all around profit. We just spoke and we just talked about the quantum of talent pool. We said it's a 10-11 crore nation in itself. So it's a very large talent pool. Now, this is my own experience, and you can also look at various studies carried out by various international, credible agencies. Like Accenture did one study in 2018, covering around 140 companies. McKinsey has done several studies. I have practiced last 25 years engaging disability candidates together. So I would say it is not just a business case, but it's a beautiful business case. It's an essential thing. It is not that disability sector needs help. It's that business that needs help. And business is getting help from disability sector. I am not putting in a metaphoric way. I will put you with the facts. It is, overall, all these studies and my own experience, I would say, the correlation, and sir, you are, master in data analytics. I am also student of that, so I will speak only on data. I have seen the basic shift in overall performance of company by at least 3 to 4% points in terms of profitability who embrace inclusion with disability. I am not again saying just as a data, I will give you the background. Accenture study says that your revenue goes up by 28% and profit by 30%. It's almost matching, you can say. If it is 10%, it becomes 13%. So why it happens and how it happens? Embracing disability in a true spirit is not, I would say, charity, not even CSR. It is truly a business case. And how it impacts organization, I will tell you my experience, Mallika. There are 3 major pillars on which it impacts straight away. One is you have a very innovative organization. Now, organization is a cross-section of society. You have a society, and if it is not a cross-section of society, you don't have diverse people, you don't have diverse ways of looking at things, you don't have diverse viewpoints, then organization is not innovative. Today, whatever you are producing in business, there are 250 more people producing same to compete with you. What is the big deal? What is the difference? innovation is the key. Everyone is driving innovation. Everyone is going that as a key focus. And once you have embraced disability, you have far more innovative organization because there are people who see things differently, who bring different ideas. And then you have all kind of diversity in organization, that diverse organizations do perform better because they are more innovative organizations. Okay, coming to second pillar. These organizations, as I've experienced, are much more stable because of the psychological safety all the employees feel. It's not about disability people, it's about all the employees. They feel psychologically safe. The attrition is low. I have myself experienced around 9 to 10 years, attrition rate less than 1%. Can anyone beat it? And it is a true fact. And it is based on other studies too. So you have a stable organization, which means your cost stability is there. Obviously, a higher attrition leads to cost. And innovative organization, stable organization, cost stability. And the most important thing is, you develop a collaborative approach in the organization. You develop a culture where you have teamwork, shared goals, where you have what Alina mentioned, compassion and kindness as the way of life. I think MNCs spend millions of rupees to several consultants imbibing this teamwork workshops. You don't need that. You embrace diversity, embrace disability as integral part of your business, and disability can really help you. I can bet because I have experienced it. There are so many other studies I mentioned. So there is no question of not having business case. In fact, this is the opportunity for business. It is not a chance to disability sector. It's your chance, business community. If you miss it, it will be very big missed opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Innovation, embrace diversity, many good indicators that you have given for businesses to adopt. So whenever we talk about path-breaking work in India, definitely there is one person who immediately appears. Luckily today also she is here, Meera Shinaiji, I welcome her. So now I think the quorum is full. So now an inspiring bit for next 5 minutes. A young 20-year-old girl studying in a college, suddenly she feels, what is that I am doing? What is that I can do? And then she chooses to do something which none of her classmates ever thought of, none of her seniors ever thought of. And she did something now, I mean, she has become now a celebrity, a big celebrity with Rashtrapatis and very soon maybe with Pradhan Mantri also. But that spirit of doing something without any expectation, doing for those people who needed the most and who cannot even articulate their views also. So doing a social enterprise, a social business, setting up of a social business at the age of 23 and then now taking that to the next level now. So obviously, Alina, my next question is, we are seeing a social business case. So first, please inspire us with your own journey. And also please tell us, do you see after all this journey, a strong social business case in this?
I want to start by saying that what we are doing is nothing special. I mean, what is it? Like a cafe run by adults with physical, intellectual, and psychiatric disabilities? The question is, why can't more people do something similar? As Mallikarjun, my friend, he asked me. So yes, I was in college, and fortunately, I was brought up by this amazing woman, and I mentioned my grandmother who had a disability. But all that I could see in her, that 10 years that she brought me up, was abilities. And when I looked into the world, I was very confused that how is it that a person's disability could become their identity, their only identity, and could lead to a lack of opportunities or not. I mean, I was very confused from the very beginning. And however, now college happened, final semester, those 3 years plus 2 years plus school. So now, I really wanted to get onto a job and send some money back home, and with the rest, thoda party. But then God had other plans. And his plans, and thankfully that I got to watch this one documentary by P. Sainath. This was on the Vidarbha farmer suicides. If you all have not seen it, please see it. That was life-changing for me, and that is actually about all of you all sitting here. So in my final semester, when I was hoping to get a job and sit for placements, I get to watch this one documentary. And I meet this guy called Nero. So Nero was an emperor in the ancient Roman Empire. He was mighty rich. You see, he would win one war after the other and the other. And one day he wins the biggest battle of his life. And when you win, kya karte ho? Party. So he decided to throw a party and he invited the who's who of Tinseltown. He invited kings and queens, princes and princesses from 7 kingdoms. And as evening befell, Nero said, boss, we need some lights to make the party happening and rocking. So he decided to burn kachada to generate light. He decided to burn waste to generate light. He decided to burn the prisoners of war and the poor people who were captured, who he considered not more than waste. I was 22 then, sitting in that classroom, that one thing that I realized, and I'd want to pass that on to you all, is that the problem was not Nero. You know, you could equate Nero with atrocities, injustice, discrimination, all the not so nice things that exist in this world, which is why this panel exists. That will always be there. But the problem was Nero's guests, as to how thousands of them could sing, dance, drink, when fellow human beings burned and died. And at that point of time, I realized that I was one of Nero's guests. That is, if you feel something about anything, and if you're not willing to take action, then you've taken a side, and unfortunately, that side is that of the oppressor. So I didn't sit for college placements, and as coming to your business case, I needed a model that could, money should enter the accounts of our team members with disabilities, but theek hai, 70 million people doesn't move the needle, na? Even if we have 100 cafes. 1,000 people employed. We're talking about 7 crore plus people only in India. A larger objective being to create awareness about inclusion with every meal or beverage that we serve. Mallikarjun, when I started Mitti with 0 startup capital and multiple rejections, which is when I emphasized the power of the community, because 90% of the equipments, right from the spoon, second-hand oven, second-hand fridge, tissue papers, were donated by people I didn't know. Our first employee was this girl who came in for the interview without a wheelchair. She came in crawling because at that point of time, she could not afford one. Today, the same girl, if you would give her this mic, say 8-9 years back when I started, her hands would shake and it would fall. A lot of things biology cannot explain. Today, the same girl sitting on her wheelchair, what does she do? She manages 10 other people with disabilities. She's the manager for our first cafe and her name is Kirti. And as I talk to you, we have so many Kirtis here. We have these amazing people, and both of these amazing people sitting here, Nimmi and Amit, are the only earning members of their families. So, and this one works at Rashtrapati Bhavan, tum Supreme Court. Acha, tum Rashtrapati Bhavan mein shift ho gaya? Acha. So, so the power of the community is what I have always believed in, and I will always emphasize and to repeat, what we are doing is nothing great. And the real fun is when we have competition. Otherwise, we're a failure.
Great, thank you, thank you. So I'm sure very soon many people are going to set up and a lot of competition is going to come in social enterprise space. So there is a book title called Inspire Before You Expire. If possible, please read that. And another African author says that it's better to be inspired when we expire something to say. I think don't get inspired by the panelists here, but it has to come from within. But our second takeaway could be, if we can start thinking about inclusion in whatever we are doing, whichever areas that we work in, including our own workforce, in our own startups, or in our own families to start with. Starting with our own mindset, inculcating an inclusive mindset. If we can do that, that could be a great favor. And believe me, nobody can stop Bharat becoming Vishwaguru. But then if we become Vishwaguru without Sugamyata and inclusion, it has no meaning. There is nothing we can give back to the world. If we can really give back to the world, that is, our inclusive spirit. It's not only about disability, but about other marginalized communities as well. So this movement is growing actually, and we all can really pitch in small, small bits to make it a big movement. Now, we have 5 minutes left. I have one question has arrived. If all the panelists agree, we also have Rajesh Aggarwal ji. So if sir agrees, we would like to have his concluding remarks, what he feels about it at the end of it. So one question I would like to ask Meenuji. So what is your vision for the inclusion of PWDs in the workforce over next decade? What should government, NGOs should do according to you?
My vision is to see people with disabilities everywhere, in every workforce, social, corporate, government, informal, entrepreneurship. That's my vision. How will that get realized? I think that is a bigger question. Have I seen change in the last few decades? Yes, I have seen change. But a lot of times I feel we keep reinventing the wheels over and over again. Some company has done something, you go to another company, they will start their journey all over again. So inclusion can never be complete. It is a journey that will continue forever and ever. Because there will be issues that will keep happening. Today you have NEP, today you have disability included in that. If I see mainstream schools, I'll give you example of my own child. When I was looking for schools for her, and I went to one school and I was quite amazed by that school, the kind of accessibility it had. Even if there was like one step, there was a little ramp or there was a railing to hold. It was only ground and first floor, and yet there was a lift. Typically schools that have only one floor, ground and first, they don't have a lift. But there was a lift there. And when I went for that orientation and I asked them, I said, wow, you have thought through of accessibility everywhere. It's quite amazing. So you must be having a lot of children with disabilities in this school. And very casually and very comfortably, she said, no, it's not because of that. Our founder has become old and she likes to go on rounds. So that is why we have created this. My vision is that we should not have those founders who will become old one day and reach that stage and then have this afterthought that I need to be inclusive. It needs to be in our DNA. I think that is my vision. The schools that are designed, which is the first step, they continue to remain ad hoc, piecemeal, relegated to special educators in schools, physical, sensory, lot of disabilities, आधा अधूरा inclusion है सब जगह. I think जब तक वो पूरा नहीं होगा, अगर हम चाहते हैं कि हमारा पूरा workforce में हमारा सब जगह representation वो हो ही नहीं पाएगा. So I think that is my vision, that we need not wait for those stages to happen to us individually for making those changes. And the policy implementation, sir, my request would again be that how do we make sure that these policies are respected, the mandates are not violated, and we achieve that vision. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you so much, Meenuji, for sharing that. Our time is also over, so before requesting Rajesh Aggarwal ji to give the concluding remarks, there was one question somebody asked, sir, if you can address. In the absence of any qualitative secondary research, how do researchers, do their research and how do they corroborate with the findings? So that is one of the participants wanted to understand that, what is that we can do. Secondly, here let me tell you that in the last 10 years, in the last 2 decades, last 2 years were the years where Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disability could utilize their 100% money for the first time. So even though we were expecting that more funds will be given to the department by government, it has not happened now. but maybe seeing these utilizations in the coming years, more budgets would be available. Secondly, government at scale, what can be done? This department is trying to do. Organizing 100 ADIP camps in 10 days. Very fashionable idea, but it has been got implemented with tremendous results. Having more than 1 crore people on an online portal with UDID cards, mapping to the district level, skill level, employment level, social status is something which has happened. Now linking up with PM Daksh portal, so that all the job seekers, job givers, mentorship can be added to it. Again, another vision is going on. So there are so many things which are happening in the department under Sir's leadership. Sir, I also would like to, we have given a lot of gyan that what government should do. I also request you to give all of us what we should do, maybe 2-3 important points, what we should do together as an organizations, so that we can complement the efforts of the government and so that quality can be brought in and the scale thinking that you are driving there would be more visible for the community as such.
Okay, 2-3 quick points. One is I started meeting persons with disabilities only after becoming secretary of this department. बचपन में स्कूल में जाते थे, there were no children with disabilities. Shopping malls में जाओ, बाजार में जाओ, we have never seen as children other persons with disability. So unless in your own house you have a person with disability, other people don't have this exposure. So sometimes we ask the parents कि आपने बच्चों को घर पे क्यों छुपा के रखा है? So sometimes they tell me parents कि you are insensitive, आप ऐसी बात, you don't have lived experience, आप ऐसी बात क्यों बोलते हो? But some of them say कि yes, you are right, हमें शर्म नहीं आनी चाहिए, हम अपने दोस्तों को भी बुलाएंगे, बच्चे से भी बुलवाएंगे, बाहर सोसाइटी में भी लेके जाएंगे, प्लेग्राउंड में भी लेके जाएंगे. शुरू में दिक्कत होगी, बाकी लोग बोलेंगे कि नहीं यार, sometimes parents tell me कि my child has ID, when I take my child to the playground, other parents take their children away, या उसकी bullying होती है. तो ये सोसाइटी में शुरू में होगा. But once the society gets exposure कि there are so many persons with disabilities, they're like normal human beings and they are part of us, only then society becomes more sensitive. तो पहला तो ये है कि शर्माए बिना everyone should get exposure into the system. Yes, I do understand accessibility issues हैं, बाकी हैं, but society में inclusion तभी आएगा जब सब मिलजुल के एक दूसरे से मिलेंगे, हर जगह मिलेंगे, स्कूल में, प्लेग्राउंड में, शॉपिंग मॉल में, वर्क प्लेस पे. अभी सिचुएशन चेंज हो रहा है. Children with special needs are getting attention, they are getting into inclusive schools, they are getting into workplaces. पर अभी भी there are large populations. Even as IAS officer for 32 years, I actually did not have much experience of this sector, क्योंकि हमारे colleagues में भी कोई नहीं था. तो so that way society को एक ज़रूरत है कि ये करिए. और थोड़ा सा दिव्यांग community को भी, आपको प्रॉब्लम होता है, आप 1-2 लोग शोर मचाते हो, दिव्यांग कम्युनिटी एज ए होल पूरा सामने नहीं आती, जैसे बाकी ग्रुप्स आ जाते हैं. तो एक तो उसकी ज़रूरत है. दूसरा वेरी क्विक पॉइंट ऑन, आई सी लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर वर्किंग इनटू असिस्टिव टेक्नोलॉजीज. तो असिस्टिव टेक्नोलॉजी जुगाड़ू टाइप नहीं होनी चाहिए, घटिया नहीं दिखनी चाहिए. वी शुड मेक गुड लुकिंग ब्यूटीफुल प्रोडक्ट्स फॉर एंड सर्विसेज फॉर आवर children with special needs. Last month I went to an event. Indian Oil had sponsored 30 Neo Motion wheelchairs for or scooty kind of thing, and Zomato was giving them delivery boy and girls jobs. So one lady who was getting that, so she said कि इस पे बैठ के ना शर्म नहीं आती. I think that's a very big statement. वो कहती बाकी जो ट्राइसिकल होता है लिम्को का या दूसरी व्हील चेयर्स हम मार्केट में, उसमें बैठ के शर्म आती है. ये इतना सुंदर इक्विपमेंट है कि इस पे बैठ के शर्म नहीं आती. सो पीपल वांट टू लिव विद डिग्निटी, सो वी हैव टू प्रोवाइड प्रोडक्ट्स विच गिव देम डिग्निटी. हम लोग चश्मा पहनते हैं, चश्मे तभी 30-40 हज़ार के भी हैं क्योंकि स्नॉब वैल्यू है. बट वाई शुड अदर थिंग्स बी बैड लुकिंग? हियरिंग एड्स बेटर नहीं हो सकती क्या? हम बाकी लोग एप्पल के आईपॉड लगा के घूमते हैं, ईयरपॉड्स लगा के घूमते हैं, Can't hearing aids be that beautiful? Will not cost much. सिर्फ सोच का सवाल है. हम कहते हैं दिव्यांग आदमी के लिए तो कुछ भी थमा दो. तो एलिम्को में वो हम चेंज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जो प्रोडक्ट्स हैं बहुत सुंदर हों. अब बच्चों को व्हील चेयर्स दे रहे हैं, हम रंग बिरंगी व्हील चेयर देते हैं. द चाइल्ड कैन चूज द कलर एंड द साइज ऑफ द व्हील चेयर. क्यों नहीं? चाइल्ड शुड बी एबल टू चूज. मुझे पीली व्हील चेयर चाहिए, नीली चाहिए, हरी चाहिए. इट्स अ स्मॉल थिंग बट डज मैटर. सो गुड लुकिंग, robust assistive technology products, and we as government are willing to work with everyone. So we are actually working with lots of people in this field, and we are very open to this. Right, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. सोच बदलो, सामर्थ्य दिखेगा. This is a message that Secretary sir is giving for all of us, and I think it is very valid. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. I also thank all my panelists for their time and their commitment, what they are doing. And above all, thanks to all of you for joining in this session. Let us build inclusive India. Let us make India inclusive capital of the world through small efforts together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. While we've been exclusive in bringing the inclusivity session, apologies to Meenu and Mallikarjun for not making the stage as accessible. With every charcha, we learn more. So that's what we will do.